Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Taking a look at the Week 6 slate Sunday morning, and there might not be a bigger game that you see. Alabama heading on the road to play Texas A&M. Dill, the only two teams in the SEC West without a conference loss. This does feel like the team that wins this is in the driver's seat for that SEC championship spot. And two teams that I feel like college football fans, and I'm guilty of this as much as anybody else in the country, kind of overreacts to what you see early on in the season. Say, hey, we saw that loss in week 2. That's the kind of team you guys are the rest of the 2023 season. Both of these teams have made, in my mind, significant steps in the right direction since those week 2 losses and are completely different teams heading into this matchup. Really, really excited to get into this one. Now, before we do, just want to say, one, thank you to you guys. Like, the support you guys have shown the boys for all these game breakdowns truly does mean a lot. So if you do enjoy the content, you want to support the fellas, consider subscribing to the channel. But more importantly, best part about doing this, hearing you guys in the comment section. Would love to hear your picks, predictions for this matchup. So I'm going to kick this one off to you. Alabama, Texas A&M in College Station. How we feeling here?
Yeah, I think people are very quick to write off Texas A&M. I mean, you look like –
And Bama.
Yeah, in Bama for sure to an extent, but I think everyone thought, well, Bama's still a very good team. They're just maybe not a national title team. I don't think that's necessarily true, but for A&M to get like knocked out of the top 25, like that's crazy. I mean, you look, this A&M team is still very dangerous. I think we maybe slept a little bit on what Miami was, but honestly for A&M, it's about getting better. And Jimbo said it in his presser after the Arkansas game. He's like, I'm seeing real growth. And I get that. You think every coach says that, and they probably do, but you look at how much better Texas A&M is playing in a lot of fronts, like up front on their offensive line, playing way better. They're tackling way better, which I didn't know that could get fixed that quickly, but it seems like it maybe has. They're doing the stuff that got them beat against Miami. They've improved a lot on it, and I'm with you. I think this team's far better heading into this game.
Yeah, I want to start with this Bama offense going up against this Texas A&M defense. That you talk about steps from this particular unit, like this Texas A&M defense, the last 2 weeks, especially against Arkansas. You look and watch that game back. You look at the box score. Okay, pretty solid performance from the defense. You kind of watch that game. You dig into it. I mean, outside of the first 2 drives that Arkansas put together, and this Aggie defense absolutely clamped up Arkansas's offense. Arkansas only had 174 total yards of offense all game. Texas A&M was living in the backfield. Some numbers that, I mean, I'm really impressed with. I mean, they're top 10 in the country, only giving up 4.2 yards per play, only giving up 2.9 yards per carry, which seems to be a massive storyline. This front seven really coming together. Dill, I think it comes down to, can Alabama, you know what they want to do, right? They want to run the football. Can they run the football against this Texas A&M front that we said heading into the season, if they put it together, this is one of the best front sevens that you'll see in the country? Dill, how we feeling? Alabama offense, can they get something going against this Texas A&M defensive line?
Well, the interesting thing is the A&M run defense has been great all year. That includes the Miami game. That certainly wasn't the reason they lost it. They've been holding teams up there. They got 4 defensive tackles who they can trot in there and are all – I mean, Walter Nolan's obviously a star, but everyone else, they're probably going to be on NFL rosters in some capacity or at least get their shot. They're all playing really well. They don't get moved around. And frankly, what I'm seeing is the linebacker play is really, really cranking up. I mean,
yeah, you said it. Front seven, like, I mean, you could say that same thing you said for the Edge. Like, that defensive line, they are rotating like 5-6 guys who are going to be playing it on Sundays. Well, we had question marks in heading into the season was this linebacker play. Guys like true freshman Torian York absolutely stepping up. These linebackers going sideline to sideline, making plays, getting behind the line of scrimmage, creating negative plays. This has been, by far for me, the biggest bright spot of this Texas A&M defense. We knew that defensive line would be pretty damn good, just too talented not to be. This linebacker group, we said, would probably be just average heading into 2023. To me, looking a lot better than average, especially the last 2 weeks against Auburn.
But frankly, for Bama's offensive line, you can probably say, like, talk about a unit that's growing, getting a lot better week in and week out. I mean, what they did against Mississippi State, they were running guys off the ball. I thought J.C. Latham, like, he was playing like that legitimate top 5 offensive tackle pick that we thought he could be. Tyler Booker's really cranking up and playing at a really high level now where, I mean, obviously a bit of a slow start for that Bama offensive line, especially on the the left side of it. But again, a unit that's really cranking it up, and I think Chase McClellan's really, really good. I'm really excited to see what they can do because Bama really does need to run the ball. If A&M can really suffocate them up front, and it becomes Alabama needing to pass it, I mean, he's getting better at Milrow, but I still don't think that's right.
100% agree. If Alabama's living in like the third and longs and kind of obvious passing situations, that's one when those edge rushers are pinning the ears back for Texas A&M. And Texas A&M did a really good job keeping KJ Jefferson like in the pocket, right? There were a few times he was able to leak out and pick up some yards with his feet, but on aggregate, linebackers did a really good job spying him. Defensive line did a really good job with
that's still a huge part of what Milrow's doing and being successful at.
100%. That's going to be the biggest part. You take a look at what he is, who he is as a quarterback. That's what he does. I will say this for the bit. We talked a lot about this Texas A&M defense. I think it's a really, really good group. Even in the back end, I think gets a little too much flack. I think they've cleaned it up in the back end as well.
But even that, like their back end got beaten up a lot for Miami, but that was like Van Dyke made a lot of really good,
a lot of high level throws.
Like they were giving them easy stuff. I mean, they did need to tackle better. They've started to tackle better for sure. Like that was obviously a problem. But you still look, that's still a very skilled unit, a very talented unit. I think they can play a lot better than what they did against Miami, and I think they are playing a lot better right now.
All right, before we switch sides of the ball here, I just want to like touch on two things that I'll be looking for. One, Jalen Milrow continuing to look comfortable. And you can see like Nick Saban, Tommy Rees, they're saying, hey, 1 to 2 reads, if it's not there, like go be an athlete. Go make it happen with your feet. And that's, I mean, you talk about catering an offense to what you have at the quarterback spot. They're starting to do that. Jalen Milrow, not going to light it up on the box score, 10 to 12 for 164 yards. Didn't really put the ball in harm's way. That's what you want from a guy like Jalen Milrow. Got it done with his legs. Here's like my biggest, what I'm looking for. Alabama in pass pro still hasn't been great. I mean, they're giving up 15% of dropbacks are resulting in sacks. Now, that is a little bit of the quarterback run that might be a little bit inflated, but it does go to speak that like they're not great in pass protection, especially in those third and long situations. Though Texas A&M is the number 1 team in the country with sack rate on defense. They're sacking the quarterback 14% of dropbacks. I'm really interested. You said it best, the story of this game right now. If Texas A&M can win on first and second down, force Alabama into those third and obvious passing situations, like that's where this Texas A&M defense.
And that's where Alabama really struggled because, frankly, Texas was able to heat them up pretty good. And Texas is a good front, so it's not like that's like something to like be ashamed of. I mean, Texas can play good defense, but I think you're right. Like the way A&M's playing up front, especially getting after the passer, which I think is coming on more recently, like that's starting to add a dynamic to this A&M team that makes me think they're very dangerous, and especially more dangerous than they showed against Miami. Because that pass rush, it wasn't great at that point. I think it's really starting to heat up, and you're seeing guys like Bill Diggs and others really start to like raise their level, I think.
Texas A&M's offense going up against this Bama defense. This Bama defense is really good. I feel like everyone wants to talk about the quarterback situation and the offensive line. Like this Alabama defense, it's loaded with talent. They got pretty much a ton of guys who are going to be playing on Sundays. This Texas A&M offense, Max Johnson, watching it back this morning, looked extremely sharp. Like you had that one swing pass that resulted in a pick six. He fumbled the football once. You got to clean that stuff up. That's how you lose games like these type of games. That being said, the high-level throws you saw from Max Johnson, some of those throws were absolutely next level. I think the Texas A&M offensive line starting to get it going. My biggest, like what I have my eyes on, is Texas A&M probably has the best wide receiver room in the SEC. They're going up against what I think is probably the most talented secondary. Kool-Aid McKinstry, Evan Stewart, going to be an absolute battle. Interested to hear how you have this Texas A&M offense going up against the Bama defense that, again, I think is one of the most underrated units in the country.
I mean, honestly, to me, it's going to start if they can just handle the Bama front four. Because like that's really when A&M's not moving it, that's really what's going on. They can't protect. They've started to run the ball a little bit and be a little more physical in the run game, which was obviously a huge problem, I think, early on in the season. But that looks like it's getting going. They have really good running backs. So I think that'll be a big thing is if they can run the ball a little bit and at least slow Alabama's pass rush down. Because honestly, where Texas A&M's at, I think they're improving for sure up front. But if they can't run the ball at all, it's very similar to like Alabama.
Both these teams want to avoid at all costs and long situations, because that's when both of these defenses, with all that talent they have on the front seven, like that's where they get most dangerous. Another kind of X factor that I'm adding into this, Naismith, like they're finally unlocked it, which I'm so happy about. It feels like, and we said it heading in, like Pepper Evans Stewart, he's the best receiver in the country, probably outside of Marvin Harrison Jr. Let him get his touches. We said this heading into that Arkansas game. When you have an elite receiver like Evan Stewart that you have to put a safety over, the boundary corners really have to be responsible for, you're opening up the middle of the field. And you're increasingly see them get it to Smith in space. And people forget, because he's been hurt, because of Evan Stewart, like Smith is one of the best players in the country with the football in space. I'm wondering if they can continue to do that. Give Max Johnson some of those easy access throws, settle him in. I feel like for me, like that's one of the bigger stories that you see.
They need to be able to work the middle of the field, because I
Yes.
just think Bama's too good on the outside. I mean, the way Terry and Arnold's really stepped up his game,
him and Kool-Aid.
they're too good. I mean, you knew Kool-Aid was going to be awesome, and he's awesome. But Terry and Arnold's playing really well. So I think like Aeneas Smith, he is that guy in the middle, especially with losing their tight end as early as they did. I think he's really kind of filling that void of being the guy to work that middle. And that's, frankly, you look at where Texas was able to do a little bit of harm. They used Jatavion Sanders.
Yes.
He was very effective. I wonder if Aeneas Smith can give him something close to that, because that middle, I think, is, especially if Deontay Lawson doesn't play, I think that's where you can maybe target this Alabama team a little bit. And that's not like that's a weakness, but I just don't know if you can really rely on beating those two corners, given that Terry and Arnold stepped up the way he has.
Yeah,
but Evan Stewart's awesome. So it's like, to say that they can't do it, I mean, Evan Stewart's, he's up there with anyone in the game. So, I mean, we'll have to see from it. For Alabama too, they'll still need to stop him. I think the middle is where maybe A&M should go, but I mean, don't count out Evan Stewart. He's awesome.
He's got to get his touches 100%. It's just nice to see them using Smith. Like, I feel like he was just kind of a forgotten piece in that offense the first couple of weeks. Dale, this matchup, we'll get to the pick. Alabama heading on the road to College Station. 5-point favorites. It sounds like it's going to open up at, for me, I'm interested. I'll let you go first, because I still, like, this game has my brain in a pretzel a little bit. The hardest part about this game is I think both of these teams are so drastically different from you saw in early September. Dale, I'll kick this one off to you. Bama 5-point favorites. Who are you rocking with here?
I think at home I'll go Texas A&M with the points. I think this. Yeah. I'm a little surprised that didn't come in close to like 2.5, frankly. Yeah. So that makes me immediately. But I just think the way A&M stepped it up, I think it's going to be a really kind of low-scoring game. Honestly, I think I like A&M in that situation. Honestly, I think they can beat them. I don't think this is like I wouldn't be afraid of the money line either. I don't necessarily love it, because I think
I'm 100% in that boat but I'm leaning like Alabama to win this game probably. That being said, like on the road, I truly think this is a toss-up game. Like you said, I think defenses are both probably the best units on the football field. 5 points, that seems like just a little bit too much. I'll be taking Aggies with those points too at home. This is going to be, in my mind, by far the most exciting game that we'll see in the Week 6 slate. Very excited for it. Again, appreciate you guys rocking with the boys. If you do enjoy the content, you want to support the fellas, consider subscribing to the channel. We'll talk to y'all later. Peace.